Get ready for Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes, the 30-minute show packed with an hour's worth of information, bringing you familiar guests on important issues such as immigration, education, the Middle East, culture, religion, and the changing worldviews of Americans and the world. You've seen her on Fox News, you've read her on the World Wide Web. Now here's Sharon.
For such a time as this.
Freeing the minds of the brainwashed masses.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Changing Worldviews today. Iranian cleric Mohammad Nabivian, who's part of their parliament, maintained that his nation's nuclear program is benign in nature, while also at the same time acknowledging that the ability to build nuclear weapons is a goal, as such weapons will be needed to, quote, put down Israel. On one hand, quote, we are not looking for a nuclear bomb. On the other hand, quote, having a nuclear bomb is necessary to put down Israel. And during the past 3 years, Iran has ramped up its persecution of Christians, shutting down churches, throwing dozens of Iranian Christians in jail for their faith. For example, a newspaper reports that 5 Christian converts from a church in Tehran were recently arrested during their Christmas celebration. Last week, Fox News reported that John Kerry said that Iran could, quote, very easily participate in this month's United Nations peace talks on Syria. According to author and journalist Aaron Klein, the Obama administration has quietly presented a plan in which the Palestinian Authority and Jordan will receive sovereignty over the Temple Mount while Israel will retain the land below the Western Wall. The Temple Mount is the holiest site for Jews, and the proposed plan is part of the basis for U.S. brokered talks, but Israel's not agreed to the U.S. plan over the Temple Mount. And that's what we're going to be talking about today.
You're listening to Sharon Hughes, coming to you from the Wild, Wild West, and we mean wild.
Well, thanks for staying with us, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be wrapping up our week-long discussion about Israel, about repairing, rebuilding, restoring Israel. And I just want to say up front, we're not presumptuous enough to believe that we can repair or rebuild or restore the nation of Israel. What I mean by that is what we can do as a nation is repair our relationship with the nation of Israel and play a positive role in helping our strongest ally in the region. We've said over and over again, this administration, for the first time really in our history, have worked against consistently the best interest of our ally. And while the Obama administration has made a deal to remove sanctions on Iran, many in Congress want to have sanctions in place should Iran not keep their part of the deal, which they believe very likely would be the case. But President Obama said imposing additional sanctions on Iran now will only risk derailing our efforts to resolve this issue peacefully, and I will veto any legislation enacting new sanctions during the negotiation. And why is that an issue? Because, like we said in the talking points, Iran wants a nuke to take Israel down. And even after the negotiations, Iran's President Rouhani said, quote, world powers have surrendered to Iranian nation's will. And then, when we're talking about the deal that John Kerry is also trying to negotiate between the Palestinians and Israel, the Palestinians said, give us Jerusalem or no peace plan. So you have Palestinian Abbas hardening his stance, showing that he won't cooperate in the plan. You have Israel very concerned, and you have Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who told his cabinet ministers and other Israeli officials that he would not agree to any division of Jerusalem in the framework agreement being drafted by Secretary John Kerry, and that Kerry's interim plans reportedly would have Jerusalem follow the model of the Vatican, whereby the Old City and the Temple Mount would be a sort of autonomous region under joint international management. Netanyahu says he will not agree to that. and international. We just found out today that UNESCO, part of the UN, canceled an event on Jewish ties to the land of Israel days before the opening of the Paris exhibit. UN cultural body bowed to pressure from Arab states who said it would harm peace talks. So, doesn't look like things are going the way that the Obama administration would like to have, regardless of what talking points they put out there, regardless of what the White House press is saying. Well, when we come back from this break, I'm going to play some segments with Myles Weiss. He and his wife, Catherine, are co-hosts of Zola Levitt Television, and Myles is our Middle East contributor here at Changing Worldviews. But prior to that, I want to play a clip by Zola Levitt staff Todd Baker, who interviewed White House correspondent Bill Koenig at a conference in Texas recently regarding Iran and the deal that the White House has recently made. Really very important information you won't hear the mainstream media tell you or report. So stay with me.
Hey, this is Brian Sussman. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. That's what you'll get with Sharon Hughes.
I want to tell you about a fantastic seminar that's coming up in the San Francisco Bay Area on January 17th and 18th. It's the Watchman on the Wall seminar put on by a ministry of Eagle's Wings. If you are just growing in your knowledge and passion for Israel, or you have been standing for Israel for years, this seminar will be an extraordinary way for you to be educated and activated on behalf of Israel and Jerusalem. There's 7 impacting teaching sessions. It's going to be held at the Father's House in Napa on Friday, January the 17th and Saturday, January the 18th. It's $89 per person, which includes all the materials, a manual, 8 CD audio teachings, and a DVD, or $149 per couple. You can register by going to www.eagleswings.to/WOTW or Watchman on the Wall, WOTW Napa, or call 1-800-519-4647, 1-800-519-4647 for the Watchman on the Wall seminar in Napa, California. Join Myles and Catherine Weiss and many others who will be conducting this Watchman on the Wall seminar January 17th and 18th, and there is a student rate of $35 available with ID. Again, call 1-800-519-4647. Again, call 1-800-519-4647. Well, thanks, everyone, for continuing with us. Okay, so now here is a clip of Zola Levitt's Todd Baker interviewing White House correspondent Bill Koenig regarding Iran and the deal that the White House has recently made with this terrorist nation. Let's play that.
You have been a correspondent, a news reporter in Washington, D.C. at the White House for
13 years.
13 years. So we want to ask you several things in relationship to your important job up there. One thing, Obama has now struck this supposed deal with Iran, and how do you see this tying in with end-time Bible prophecy where Persia, known as present-day Iran, plays so much of a role?
Well, it's a very interesting perspective because, Obama said over and over again, especially since March of last year, that he has Israel's back. And at the same time, he's been putting people in positions such as Chuck Hagel, John Brennan at CIA, Samantha Powers is his UN ambassador, and also Susan Rice is the National Security Council head. So we started looking into scriptures more carefully, and obviously that's the lens which we watch the Middle East. And we looked at Jeremiah 49, 35 through 39,
okay,
which is a very interesting area of prophecy that's not talked about very often, but it talks about Elam, which is Persian, which would be Iran. And this particular area, in a conflict where they will be broken, which the bow, their military, the missile launching, that they will deal and experience a devastating blow. And as you see, the week that they were meeting in Geneva, Switzerland, Khamenei and Rouhani and other leaders of Iran were speaking horrible things about Israel. They were calling them a rabid dog. They were saying, we're going to eliminate this Zionist entity. I mean, this is at the same time the international community is negotiating in Geneva. that should immediately be a reason to step
That's a
away.
big red flag right there.
Exactly. So, as Bible prophecy is, what is written will happen. And that's why we're looking as the Lord is allowing this leadership in Iran to become more boisterous, and their people will be spread far and wide, and that the gospel will be spread out throughout Iran like never before.
Amen. Amen. Well, and I'm sure you've heard of the historical analogy. Obama suing for peace with Iran is kind of like Neville Chamberlain. In 1938 at Munich, we have peace in our time, and he waved the white paper. I kind of see the same thing being done today with this, recent New Deal with Iran. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely agree with you. We're hearing a lot of people talk about that. People in Israel, within the administration, and also Charles Krauthammer. A lot of us appreciate his work here in the States with Fox. He said the same thing. A lot of people are comparing the Chamberlain-Hitler agreement with the U.S. P5 group's deal with Iran. A lot of parallels. I mean, 10% of the world's oil is right there in the Persian Gulf and inside of Iraq and inside of Saudi Arabia. Do you not know that this is a conflict between Shia Islam and Sunni Islam? Do you know for the fact that Saudi Arabia is petrified of a nuclear Iran? They believe that they will be second after Israel. Do you not read this intel? Do you not believe the intel that you're reading about this dangerous precedence that's being set in the Persian Gulf? And if Iran controls that oil through the Persian Gulf, it will bring the world economies to their knees.
It's flabbergasting, really, to be honest with you. Correct me if I'm wrong. This agreement also still allows Iran to continue with nuclear enrichment.
Yes, enrichment, I believe it's up to 5%. It might be up to 20%, but basically everything they've pretty much have already been working on, things that were most crucial in terms of stopping this, will not really be addressed fully until about 6 months out, and very likely Iran will already be finished.
It reminds me of when President Clinton was negotiating with North Korea, and he believed, hey, they're going to stop their endeavor to try to get nuclear weaponry, and they made a deal, and of course we know that North Korea reneged on it.
Well, that's a perfect parallel. Senator Cruz brought that out this week. He did a great job of explaining at risk. This is a great interest and a great concern to those countries because that's from one of Israel's top missile experts, Uzi Rubin, who helped develop the Aero missile defense system. He's the one that said they have made incredible leaps in technology over the last few years, and that has a lot of people concerned. And then the ICBM is what North Korea and Iran's working on that would put Europe, as well as Russia and the United States at risk of a long-term future or long-range future nuclear target.
We're going to take another quick break, and when we do, ladies and gentlemen, some of the things that we've talked about with Myles Weiss in regards to Israel as a foundation to why we are concerned here at Changing Worldviews, not only for Israel, but for our nation and the direction that we're going, and how we really do need to change our national worldview back to, well, the one like Ronald Reagan had when he said, quote, Israel exists. It has a right to exist in peace behind secure and defensible borders, and it has a right to demand of its neighbors that they recognize those facts. Reagan said, I have personally followed and supported Israel's heroic struggle for survival ever since the founding of the State of Israel. In the pre-1967 borders, Israel was barely 10 miles wide at its narrowest point. The bulk of Israel's population lived within artillery range of hostile Arab armies. I am not about to ask Israel to live that way again. That is the same thing that we should be saying today. Awake to the reality of the Palestinians that want to take over the Temple Mount and they want more land to make them indefensible again, and Iran that wants to wipe Israel off the map. What doesn't our government get about this? It's foolish to believe that these enemies are going to change their hardcore belief, religious belief, to wipe Israel off the map. Stay with me. We'll be right back.
Exposing the worldviews behind the political, cultural, and ideological wars being waged in our nation and world, Sharon packs an hour's worth of information into every half hour with news you can use.
Academia is often the wellspring of race hatred. This is something that we need to recognize. Eugenics, indeed, was a campaign to create a master race by do-gooders and progressives. They were attempting to create a utopia.
What's ending up happening is that Christians who say, I don't care about issues, they realize that's what's being used to silence the gospel. If they can silence the truth, they will silence the gospel.
You're being a watchwoman on the wall, Sharon. I say that with all sincerity. Appreciate what you're doing to sound the alarm, and we need more shows like yours.
Changing Worldviews gets funded entirely through the tax-deductible donations of our supporters. If you've not done so already, renew your active support today. And if you're new to Changing Worldviews, would you consider helping us with a donation, becoming a monthly partner to help get the truth out and tell the world the side of the story that mainstream media doesn't report? Thank you so much ahead of time for supporting our efforts.
Hear that? It's the heartbeat of an infant in the womb at 6 months. His heart's beating at about 140 beats per minute. If he were born right now, his chances of survival would be greater than 50%. But even today, his mother could choose to have an abortion. The law says it's her choice. Each year, more than 18,000 babies who are already in the 5th month of pregnancy are aborted, and it's legal. Roe v. Wade says you can choose to have an abortion for virtually any reason, at any time, right up through the 9th month. It's been over 30 years since Roe v. Wade, and now 1 in every 4 pregnancies ends in abortion. Have we gone too far? Visit secondlook.org and discover the realities behind Roe v. Wade. That's secondlook.org, a message from the Second Look Project.
I want to tell you about a pro-life rally that's going to be held in Santa Rosa, California on January 19th. Sonoma County Pro-Life cordially invites you to attend the annual Rally for Life at Courthouse Square in downtown Santa Rosa on Sunday, January 19th from 1:30 to 3 o'clock p.m. The rally will feature music and speakers celebrating the sanctity and value of life as we remember the tragedy of over 40 million lives lost since abortion was legalized in America. This is a family-friendly event, and all are invited to come and be witnesses for life. Speakers include youth and community leaders, and the keynote speaker is James Jenkins of California Pro-Life. Again, Sunday, January 19th at Courthouse Square, Santa Rosa, California, 1:30 p.m. It's free and well worth it. Bring your friends. Well, thanks for staying with us. Okay, here are some of the things that we have said that are important to our subject today, just connecting the dots. This is crazy. This feels like a German Nazi.
Yeah, and this is their focus every day when they wake up, how to destroy America.
You know, I've heard it said by people like Walid Shoebat, a terrorist turned believer in Jesus and lover of the Jews. I've heard him say things like the Ministry of Disinformation from Adolf Hitler's regime was correct when they said, if you tell a big lie long enough, people will believe it. And that is what's been pressing against the consciousness of America for so long now, is this lie about who is who and what is what. It's almost as if we're living in the days that Isaiah prophesied, saying they will call good evil and evil good.
Yeah, and, you know, I remember seeing Schindler's List when it came out, but I've got a 10-year-old daughter who didn't know what the Holocaust was. I was really surprised that in my own house that, you know, my own children wouldn't know what it is. So it's the kind of thing you have to keep reminding people or they forget. And if we don't learn the lessons of the past, of course, we're condemned to repeat them.
Yeah, they're not teaching it in the schools. That's why she didn't know. We as parents have to make sure that correct history is being taught.
Exactly right. My sons are coming from a Jewish home. They're always bringing me reports home about what is being taught and not being taught regarding the Holocaust. And if we don't do the education ourselves, it's not going to happen.
Okay, now I want to close out with a clip by the David Horowitz Freedom Center, an excellent synopsis of the history of really what we're talking about, how we got to where we are today in regards to America's and Israel's relationship, including with the current president, Barack Obama.
Since Israel's creation in 1948, Arabs have conducted 3 unprovoked wars of aggression to destroy the Jewish state. But today, Israel faces the greatest threat to its existence in its 63-year history, from Egypt to Turkey, from Gaza to Iran. Israel's enemies are on the rise.
إسرائيل هي عدونا الموت لإسرائيل. هذا يهودي خلفي.
Islamic terrorist forces armed with more than 50,000 rockets now encircle the tiny nation and call openly for its extermination. In these perilous times, Israel needs its ally, the United States, more than ever. But can it count on America's president? From Israel's beginning, the United States has been the indispensable ally of this single democracy among the repressive dictatorships of the Middle East. American presidents through the decades have reaffirmed that special relationship until the election of Barack Obama. From his first day in office, Obama has distinguished himself by his open hostility towards America's staunchest ally. He has told Jews they can't build homes in Jerusalem, the capital of Israel and the spiritual center of Judaism for thousands of years.
The United States does not accept the legitimacy of continued Israeli settlements. It is time for these settlements to stop.
He forced the Jewish state to negotiate with the Palestinian terror organization Hamas in the so-called peace process. Hamas has sworn to obliterate Israel.
Hamas exists to destroy Israel. Their mission is to kill Israelis, to kill Jews.
While Israel faces an enemy sworn to destroy it, Obama has demanded that Israel surrender its right to negotiate defensible borders. He said that its borders must revert to the lines that existed before the second Arab aggression.
The borders of Israel and Palestine should be based on the 1967 lines with mutually agreed swaps.
That leaves Israel an 8-mile strip. You go ahead and try to defend that. You can't. If everyone around you is peaceful, you're good. If everyone is screaming, kill the Jews, you're dead.
While appeasing Israel's enemies, Obama has dealt harshly with Israel's prime minister since their first meeting in May 2009. Obama treated Benjamin Netanyahu to a series of humiliating snubs, including presenting him with a list of demands and then leaving him to mull them over while he went to dinner with his family. There has been no such tension between Obama and the Jew-hating Turkish Prime Minister, Recep Erdogan, whose rhetoric toward Israel is increasingly threatening. After Israel intercepted a terrorist flotilla trying to break the Gaza arms blockade, Erdogan called it cause for war and said Israel had to pay a price for its aggression and crimes. The Obama administration then pressured Israel to apologize to Turkey over the incident. Throughout the upheavals of the so-called Arab Spring, Obama refused to help the democratic opposition forces of Israel's enemies Iran and Syria, but led the charge against Libyan strongman Muammar Gaddafi.
Today we can definitively say that the Gaddafi regime has come to an end.
By overthrowing Gaddafi, Obama delivered another Arab country into the hands of Jew-hating Islamists and America's enemies. In the aftermath of the U.S.-sponsored intervention in Libya, as many as 20,000 shoulder-held surface-to-air missiles went missing. Each one is capable of shooting down a commercial airliner. Some of them have already turned up in the Sinai Peninsula on their way to the terrorist regime in Gaza. And thanks to Obama's intervention in Egypt, leading to the ouster of America's ally President Mubarak, the Hitler-admiring Muslim Brotherhood is now the most powerful political force in the country. This is reminiscent of former President Carter's unseating of the shore of Iran in 1979, which paved the way for the Ayatollahs and the Islamic Jihad that led to 9/11. Like the Iranian regime, the Muslim Brotherhood has called for war with Israel to wipe it from the face of the earth. The spiritual leader of the Brotherhood, who recently led prayers for 1 million Muslims in Tahrir Square, has urged his followers to finish the job Hitler started.
تقديم كان تقديم هتلر والمرة القادمة إن شاء الله ستكون على أيدي المؤمنين.
With Mubarak gone, the new regime has restored the relations with Iran that had been severed for 35 years, ended the arms blockade of Gaza, and merely looked on while the Israeli embassy in Cairo was stormed and overrun by agents of the Brotherhood. And following the overthrow of Mubarak, an emboldened Hamas resumed firing rockets into Israel. Meanwhile, Obama has continued to sell tanks and other weapons to Egypt. He has outfitted the Islamic dictatorship in Saudi Arabia with fighter jets and attack helicopters in the largest weapons sale in U.S. history. While the Middle East cauldron boils, Iran races to acquire nuclear weapons, unimpeded by the Obama White House. At this critical time for Israel, Barack Obama, the most anti-Israel American president since the creation of the Jewish state, treats our enemies in the region like allies, and our ally like an enemy.
Well, it is the weekend, and if you're like Dwayne and I, we enjoy relaxing with a movie on Friday or Saturday night over the weekend, and I would like to recommend an older film relevant to today's topic. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it, and if you've seen it, you should probably watch it again. It will really help give a clear perspective on what we're dealing with when we're talking about Iran, and it's Not Without My Daughter, starring Sally Fields. It's a true story that takes place in 1984 when Betty Mahmoudi's husband takes his wife and daughter to meet his family in Iran. And though a little uneasy, his wife, played by Sally Fields, trusts him when he promises they would be safe, happy, and free to leave. However, once there, he tells her he's decided to stay, and if she wants to leave, she can, but without their daughter. If she stays, she must adapt to the culture, which she believes is dangerous. And the movie shows the challenges that American married women face living in Iran, such as one of our guests, Pat Rausch, experienced in Saudi Arabia, who, after 20 years, has still not seen her daughters who were kidnapped by her ex-husband. Not Without My Daughter, certainly available on Netflix or at video stores, any of the ones that are still open today. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I encourage you to stay informed and pray informed. Don't just read the news, pray the news. And pray for our country and pray for the peace of Israel. So that's it. Take action. I encourage you to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday on KDIA AM 1640 at 4:30 p.m. and every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays for our 1-hour live stream show, which you can access by going to changingworldviews.com, listen online, or by telephone at 424-222-5360, or online, changingworldviews.com. Click on the Blog Talk Radio link, and that'll take you to our online stream show. And there's also archives there as well. And so until I see you next time, this is Sharon Hughes saying it like it is.
Thanks for listening to Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes. You can get more information on today's topic or order a CD of today's show by visiting changingworldviews.com or writing us at Changing Worldviews, P.O. Box 750624, Petaluma, California, 94975-0624. You can also contact us at talk@changingworldviews.com. That's talk@changingworldviews.com. Our program is listener-supported, and we appreciate your tax-deductible donations to help us get the truth out on the important issues Sharon addresses on the show. So until next time, remember, stay alert, stay informed. We live in a changing world.